Hi, this is Steve Walton from Tropic Heating and PatioHeat.com, specializing in the sales, service, and designs for the outdoor patio heating equipment. Here we have a residential application, and in this application you can see it's a covered patio. There's basically 3 walls. I know the ceiling, I've seen this job itself, and the ceiling comes right up into the roof area of the home. They do have a couple of skylights, and there is a sliding door here that goes left and right, so that's not an issue. And I believe there's a window and a window over here as well. So let's go ahead and look at the dimensions. Dimension wise, overall we have 17 by 14, and then this distance between these 2 posts is 10 feet 10. The distance between here is not relevant. We know we have a 17-foot span that we're trying to heat up, but the one thing that is relevant is the distances between these. I think they're called a truss, or maybe it's a joist. We have 1 foot 10 inches. That's very important to what I'm going to try to do here. And then, of course, we have another distance over here that is from this edge of the beam, or post rather, to the house. I have 2 feet 9 inches. Now the important part of this is that there's seating here, and so we're trying to heat up some of this seating area, so I need to know what that distance truly is, and that's why it's there. And I think that is about it for this moment. So let's go ahead and take that off, and then we'll look at the different options that we have. Let me just remove, actually we could leave that on here. So this would be 2 of the 4,000 watt units, and the customer is looking at heating up these 2 different areas. We have just a reclining sitting area and then a dining area over here. And you might notice that this part of the dining area here is pushed up against this wall, and that's kind of an important aspect for them. And it's off-centered this direction here. So just bear that in mind. So the units that I've chosen here would be the either the the C4024, or you could use the Slimline 4024 4,000 watt 240 volt heaters. Now I've placed them so that we get the most coverage from the units into the patio section. So there's not a place I could put this particular heater in the center unless I put it on the bottom of the beam. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but let's go back here and look at the dimensions. And I did not mention this, but this is a rather low application too, so let's throw that in here real quick. And we're going to go off of these beams here, and we'll put that there. And so you can see that we have 7 feet 2 inches here at this bottom edge of this joist, I'll call it. All right, let me go back here. And so yeah, that's an important part of this application, is the height that we're dealing with, and that's why I'm trying to stick them up as high as possible. This gives me about 6 more inches if I place them in here rather than on the bottom edge, going with, say, like a Slimline or something of that nature. So that's why I've chosen this C model rather than this Slimline. So it just gives me a little bit of a different visual, I guess. In any case, let's go ahead and see what the footprint of heat would be with this application. So you can see here from left to right, I get a good coverage here. I'm hitting half of this dining set here, or the right side of it if you're facing it from this direction here. And then the issue I'm having though is I need to maintain the 18 inches of clearance from this edge of the heater to this edge of the beam. And that being said, my ray isn't penetrating where I really would like to see it penetrate here. But that's going to be the best I can really do unless I lower the heater. And if I was to lower the heater, let's just give you an example. If I was to take the heater and lower it the distance from the beam up here down so that I can actually mount it at the bottom of the beam, you can see that my ray is tighter, and I could move the heater over now, but now my heater is kind of low and I'm not really happy with that. Let's see what the dimension of that actually is. See if we can turn off this real quick and pop that in here. We'll just go off of a component here, and you can see that we're at 6 feet 5 inches off the floor. So I'm a 6'3" guy, and that would be rather close to my head if we were to move it down and then mount it off of the edge of one of these joists here. So I'm going to not recommend that. Go back here, but that would be the only way that we could actually move the heater to the right further. We still have the 6 inches of clearance above that we'd have to deal with, but it would give us about it would give us a foot of coverage further over, but it would be awfully hot coming down another 6 inches roughly. So anyway, let me just go back here, put that back up there, and now we have it reset. All right, so that would be one option. Another portion would be to place an additional unit over here, and you can see that I'm going to turn these off for a moment. You can see that this one heater here would just barely heat up this table that I have, and I'm not quite sure of the actual dimensions of the customer's table, but you can see that that would be acceptable to this outer edge here, maybe even here. So this might be just fine. When you're sitting here, however, your body is up here, and the ray isn't really penetrating your body. Now there's more of a ray than, let me turn off this clearance here, but there's more of a ray that comes out here. It's just not the ideal amount of ray that you're really looking for. So this wouldn't be the most comfortable place, but it also might be acceptable for some, and not a problem at all. Let me turn off the dimensions here. So this is just one idea, and let's go ahead and put the other two back on here. And you can see I got some double coverage here, some heavy double coverage. So do we want to make it more heavily on the right side than on the left, or how would that best suit this customer? So it's a decision that the customer is going to have to make. But if I was to move this over, you can see now that my ray is more concentrated on this side here, and yeah, it's a little bit of a tough situation with the skylights up here. So I'm going to lean more towards heating up this side of the patio than this side, but it could be either or. It's really an either or type of decision. All right, so let's go ahead and look at one other option. One other option would be to not place the one unit over there, but in fact place two smaller units. These would be like a, I think this is a 2500 watt unit. So you're essentially dealing with 5,000 watts versus a 4,000 watt unit. And that 5,000 watt would give you further coverage throughout that whole space. So I'm going to turn this one off so we can see that a little bit clearer. Now the issue that I have with this is that, again, we have to meet the clearances to combustibles over here and then over here. And in between, the manufacturer states in their owner's manual that you need to maintain 3 feet of distance between the two heaters. And while I looked at, contacted the manufacturer and asked them to clarify their statement, the answer I got was, per our technician, 3 feet is what is recommended. You may be able to have them at 1.5 or 2 feet minimum apart. So this would be a decision that the homeowner and installer would have to make and work it out with the inspector, because I believe what they're saying is that their recommendation is it's a recommendation, not a requirement. So that's a little bit of a dilemma that I have here as to whether this would fit right or not. I can't get any more of a clear answer now. In speaking with them, they did state that I think the reason for the recommendation is that they believe that this would be too hot in most applications, but this particular customer is looking at having a control system on here, so they can control this as a zone, and that zone would, that controller would allow them to turn it to whatever temperature would be appropriate for that climate and that time period that they're in. So let me go back to placing these units here. Again, you can see that with this we have a pretty good coverage. Again, I'm still not satisfied with this 100%. I know the customer is looking to heat up this place here, but I can't place a unit between here or over here and aim it at an angle and still meet any clearances and get that heat ray to penetrate right here. So this is going to be the best option, I would believe. And another thing is the customer did state that they might be placing a screen around this room so that that will reduce the amount of air movement throughout the space, and reducing air movement allows you to have a little bit of a warmer atmosphere. However, this is infrared heat rays, and the infrared needs to penetrate you, physically, otherwise you're not really in the light wave itself. So like if you were in the shadow of a building in the bright sunlight, you wouldn't feel the warmth of the sun, but you'd feel the air temperature around you. And as soon as you stepped out from that shadow and you're into the direct sunlight, the air temperature hasn't changed. It's just the intensity of the sun, the infrared light wave of the sun is penetrating you, and you feel warmer from that light source. And that's how this infrared light, these infrared heaters work. So, all right, well, I hope this helps. If you're looking for some assistance with your outdoor heating application and you would like us to assist you in any way, please send your request to designs@patioheat.com. And if this has helped you in any way, we appreciate it if you would consider a thumbs up. We don't advertise, we don't monetize with YouTube, and with your thumbs up, it helps spread our message across the YouTube community, and we appreciate that very much. Thank you and have a terrific day.